welcome to the Pattern Play podcast. I'm Tim Geschwind and your host for today, and joined by some of our awesome co-hosts, Jude, Sal, and Siobhan. Thank you for being here. I am going to kick off this first episode with a bit of love. We really appreciate you supporting the podcast, whether that be on video or audio. Maybe you're just listening to us. We really, really appreciate you for tuning in and joining us as we go through this first episode, which may have some teething troubles, but there we go. That is all part of a new podcast and a new experience. So I'm going to start off with who the heck are these people and what is this podcast? What is Pattern Play? Well, we have decided finally, after probably around 15 years of talking way too much nonsense together about football, that it was time to formalize this into something that looked a little bit more 2025 and a little bit less just ranting into endless WhatsApp chats. So here we are after a few weeks of putting our heads together and figuring out, basically just debating the intro music for 2.5 weeks, and everything else just fell into place in the last few hours. Here we are, ready to record our first episode. I am not going to hog the mic for any longer. I'd love the contributors and my co-hosts to jump in and introduce themselves and kick this one off. So Sal, why don't you lead us off?
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for your love and support. I'm so happy to be here. As Tim said, it's been many years in the making and many weeks of planning, and we finally here. So finally we can give all our few football chats a purpose as opposed to just mouth every single day. So very, very happy that we finally have that platform. So yeah, my name is Sal, Manchester United fan and avid football fan. So happy to be here and join you guys with this. Jude?
Okay, now that we discussed an order, I just want to put that out there. We discussed an order. I was not next, but I will go next. My name is Jude. I've been watching football since the 90s. R9 was my favorite footballer, and that's the person who kind of got me into football. And I've been watching ever since. Those who are in football WhatsApp groups with me would know I don't chat a lot on those WhatsApp groups. I'd rather have this platform to talk about it. I can't wait for the season to start. And I'm glad we formalizing it and putting it on platforms for other people to hear. I think our opinions are valuable. We know our stuff. Siobhan.
Oh, thank you. Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Siobhan. I am a Liverpool supporter, and I have been one for over 30 years. So I've been through the rough and the glory days as well. Started watching football with my dad growing up, and kind of just sort of became obsessed with it, as you can see. I plan my life around football. I live and breathe football, and I just love chatting about it all the time. So I'm really, really excited about this podcast. I'm really, really excited to be the girl amongst all these guys and maybe bring a little bit of insight into it where winners can talk and others.
I feel that might be a shot in my direction, given how long it's been since Palace won anything of note. I will take that on the chin. I have a feeling I may be taking a few punches over the next few episodes as we get into the season, or until we actually win anything. Thank you for introducing yourselves, folks. Sal, thank you for getting wrong the only thing we prepared for this podcast. That is on a fantastic note. I'm also going to introduce myself quick. I'm Tim Geschwin. I am not based in South Africa like the rest of the co-hosts on this podcast, unfortunately, but I will definitely be there for an episode of 2 this season. I'm based in the Netherlands, down in Eindhoven, so my local team would be PSV. Not that I get to see them very often, to be honest. All would want to. I'm an avid Arsenal fan, as you can see, although it's a little cropped out. There is a cannon there trying to squeeze into frame. I've been an Arsenal fan for as long as I can remember. Definitely, as you can see from my lack of hair, it's more than 25 years. It's been a while. I'm no young spring chicken anymore. And I've been supporting pretty much since my older brother, determined the family would be an Arsenal family. And as many families go, I think once your elders decide it's an Arsenal team, there's not much pushing back you can do unless you want to be ostracized and bullied. But there we go. That's not a path I decided to take. Moving to the next segment, we're going to talk about the Community Shield. When I was growing up, this was actually called the Charity Shield. I wonder if they subtly changed that to Community Shield because no money's going to charity, but that's probably an awkward conversation no one wants to have. So let's focus on the Community Shield. Sunday, 10th of August at 1600 hours, 4 o'clock in the afternoon for South Africa and the Netherlands, 3 o'clock for our UK listeners. And to kick off this segment, I think it's only fair if Siobhan, as the only participant in the Community Shield, how are you feeling about the clash coming up this weekend?
I'm really excited about it. I think it's really, really nice that Liverpool's last game of the season where we were given the trophy was against Crystal Palace, and we did the double guard of honor, which I've never seen in football before, which I thought was a really, really class act from both sides. And I love the fact that we get to kick off the football season again together. It's not really the biggest game, to be honest. I mean, City have won it so many times. Chelsea have won it. Arsenal have won it. We've won it. Has United won it? I'm not sure. I think so. But it's just it's the excitement behind it, because once this game is done, then it means football season is open, and we are all really, really excited. I'm most excited to see the squad, even though we had to say goodbye to some of our players, which I wasn't necessarily happy about some of them leaving. I'm really excited to see our new signings. I've been watching them in preseason, and it is giving tiki-taka, old school, classic football. I remember watching the second game against Athletic Bilbao on Monday, and there was this little moment of one-touch football, and my dad and I were like, oh, like as the ball was getting passed. It was just so beautiful to see. So I'm really, really excited. Florin is bringing such energy into the squad, and can't wait to see him in action, like proper Premier League football, because no one understands what the Premier League is like until you're in it. And generally, they'll always get tackled really, really hard in their first game, and you're like, welcome to the Premier League, son. So I'm really excited to see it. And yeah, good luck to Crystal Palace, but shame it's not going to happen.
I like the confidence there. I'm definitely detecting the kind of confidence, I guess, when you're walking into a competition where you're up against Palace, right? And no disrespect to Palace, but I think the Community Shield, we are used to having two of the big boys, for want of a better word, usually two of the top six. But I do like seeing another team that up there, and Palace have impressed, I think, in moments when you would expect them to come up short. They haven't. And they haven't had the Brentford effect or the Bournemouth effect this season, where they've sort of, those clubs have had all of their best players sort of cherry-picked in transfers. Palace have managed to sort of keep it together. I'm kind of flabbergasted that we're in August and they once again have Guehi and Eze, and they haven't gone anywhere. That kind of blows my mind, but I can understand where the confidence is coming from. I wanted to ask you about a young player that I'd seen making some waves, and I think Jude is probably going to have something to say about this afterwards. But Siobhan Ungumoa, the young lad, yeah, what's the deal there?
Well, I'd like to say, as much as he says that he's English, he does come from Africa, so we like to claim him as our own a little bit, him and both Trey. But 16 years old and just tearing it up. He plays with such confidence. He reminds me of a young Raheem Sterling back in the day. Maybe just not the run vibes, but like just the confidence. And this boy, he's not like, he does things with the ball that I haven't seen since Coutinho almost. He's just down that left wing. And I think he's actually one of the main reasons why Lucho left. I mean, besides Cody playing on the left there, but Rio coming in and possibly pushing to start. He's just such a talent, and he's so dynamic on the ball. It's beautiful to watch. just raw talent like that.
Jude, where does he come from?
So he's been he was in Chelsea's academy, and he might be one of those players where we regret kind of selling him before reaching the professional stage of his career, which he's reached now, and he's making waves. He's very talented 16-year-old. Just like Jamal Musiala, we let him go before reaching his professional level. So one of those players I think Chelsea are maybe going to regret, although like we're kind of doing our own thing now in terms of young players. So maybe I'm not as jealous, but I'm keen to see where Ngomoa ends up and if he's going to knock on the first team this season and have regular minutes.
Fun fact, Liverpool scouts have been banned from Chelsea's training academies since we signed Rio.
I wonder why.
Sure, that's a complete coincidence and nothing illicit was going on. I think that it is so good to see in preseason. I think it's the most exciting part of preseason is actually the youngsters who get game time with the big clubs like a Chelsea, like a Liverpool, like an Arsenal. I know Arsenal fans are going absolutely mental at the moment over Max Dowman, and there are so many youngsters that are getting time that, if we're honest, probably will disappear as the big games start to steamroll through and we enter into that Premier League, Champions League routine. That said, Jude, I wanted to get your views on the Community Shield. What are you thinking? Simple Liverpool slam dunk, or do you see something more complex on the horizon?
I first off want to say the Community Shield is always it's an exciting time, even if Chelsea is not involved. I quite enjoy it's like the Premier League's curtain raiser, right? You kind of get to see where the champions of England are compared to whoever they're playing. If they won the double, then they're playing second place. If one of the other big six win the FA Cup, then they against them. Liverpool playing Crystal Palace is not you mentioned it earlier, it's not the regular Community Shield fixture, but I'm still looking forward to it. I do think Liverpool are going to win. They've added so much quality, they've spent so much money, and also on the other side, on Palace's side, yes, they've held on to their big players from last season, but they haven't really recruited much in this past transfer window and the current transfer window. And I know Oliver Glasner is actually kind of looking at the board saying where the players are, because I think their first team players squad is like 17 at the moment. They have 17 players that belong to the first team. So they still need to recruit. I doubt they will get anyone over the line for Sunday, or anyone of significance, that is. But yeah, I think Liverpool might be a steamroll.
Yeah, I can't help but feel similarly, to be honest with you. I was being pretty optimistic, wasn't I, around Palace's situation? But you guys have hit me with some reality bombs there, and I think I might be changing my bets for the weekend. I am not advocating for any betting on this podcast. This is a very betting neutral podcast.
Winners know when to stop.
Exactly, Jude. Exactly. It is looking like it's going to be probably a pretty smooth experience for Liverpool this weekend. I got to say, one of the benefits of spending more than 100 million on one player is that you get some excitement around your club and around that player. And I mean, I've got no vested interest in this game whatsoever, and I'll be tuning in because I want to see Florian. I want to see this. I want to see this player in the headlights of what is a major English football event. As you said, Jude, it doesn't really matter who's part of it. It is the curtain raiser for our domestic season. And I think it's going to be really exciting seeing what the Liverpool have cooking with him in the team. Siobhan, how are you feeling around Wirtz? Where do you think he's going to be playing? Do you think it's a slam dunk 90-minute footballer who is basically one of the core hearts of the Liverpool attack now? How do you see the Flovert signing and how he's going to play potentially this weekend?
Look, to be honest, I was a bit shocked about the price tag, but watching him play is incredible. He has one-touch football, and his bursts of speed straight down the middle. He's also, him and Mo are linking up really, really nicely, and I can see the chemistry starting to form there between the two of them. It's almost giving me slight Bobby vibes when Bobby was there, and he used to be able to distribute on either side. But he's just brought this energy to the team, and I don't know if it's just him or if it's him and Kokes together, and even maybe with Hugo now as well. There's this new energy that's brought in. It's almost as if Klopp and Slot have merged their styles of football, because Klopp was always this go, 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 chase the goals, like break, 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 full energy all out, and Slot was very tactical. And it's from watching preseason, it's as if it's merged together perfectly, where it's super high intensity, but perfection, tactical. You can see players are thinking about their crosses. So I'm really, really excited about it. And Frimpong, who is ridiculously fast as well. I mean, that boy is like a cheetah when he gets that ball, and super energetic. I just think that we've bought really well. We've bought players who want to play for the badge and who are giving everything they have on that pitch, even if it's just preseason. So I think we've been really, really clever about it. Yes, we've spent a lot of money, but I think a lot of people are forgetting we did win the Premier League. We did get a lot of money from Champions League as well, let alone the fact that we only spent £10 million the season before, and we haven't really been buying a lot of players. We grow our academy, we invest a lot of money into our academy, and we allow those boys to come through into our first team. So I think we've earned the right to spend a little bit of money now and continue to spend money. There are some gaps still that I still see. I think we need another centre back just to bounce off, to keep Virgil safe and Ibu safe, because Joe is injury prone. But other than that, I think we've just reinforced really, really well. And what I did want to mention about Crystal Palace actually is I think it's actually beautiful that they are playing in it, because it reminds us of football back in the day, and the actual real reason what the FA Cup was supposed to be about is the smaller teams getting to play the bigger teams, not the ones that have all the money and the big names and the big players. And I think that was the essence of what the FA Cup was about, was every team was on an equal standing. And I think Crystal Palace winning that, and even Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup, football gave back to us the way it used to back in the day. It wasn't just about money, and it wasn't just about players, and it was a gift that kept giving. And even like with Chelsea, them winning, what was it, the Conference Cup? And Spurs winning their first trophy as well. Like, it was just, football gave back. It was just beautiful for me. It wasn't dominated by anyone. Yes, my team got to win a big trophy too, and I'll take it. But it was just, it was a gift. And that's what I'm extremely grateful for from last season.
I'm going to try to keep my thoughts to myself on Spurs winning a European trophy when we get nothing the same year. I definitely
see it that way.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can definitely get behind Newcastle, Palace. I mean, Chelsea winning the Conference League. It is what it is. But Spurs, I think I just have to let Spurs and them winning a European trophy drift into the sunset, and that one never happened. Cool. Well, let's move on. Sal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful.
Before we leave the topic then, Sal, I am interested to get your view on the Community Shield this weekend. It is a competition or an event which we used to watch in earnest, given it used to be, for a period of time anyway, a bit of an Arsenal-Manchester United event. Yeah, a traditional curtain raiser for us. But how are you feeling about this weekend?
So on that topic, actually, like every season for the last few years, barring last season, because we did compete in it at the beginning of the season, but it's like a reminder of the fact that we are not what we used to be anymore. Because it was like growing up, almost every single season we were in that in that little competition. It was the curtain raiser, and it was our team always, lifting that curtain up. But when I separate my bias and my emotions from it, it's always an exciting time. Like as Jude said, as you said, it's the curtain raiser, it's the intro to, it's like that gap between pre-season and the actual season being filled. So you feel the energy coming, you feel the season coming on the horizon. So I'm super, super excited. And just like you, I'm really, really excited to see how these Liverpool players gel. I really am. I think Siobhan is spot on. I think the club bought really, really well this summer. And the signings are perfect in my opinion. Like, you would think that losing players like Trent would be a massive loss. And they have they did it so perfectly with the players that have come in, that the players that are moving on, the likes of Trent, Luis Diaz, and so on. I just don't think they're going to feel those losses at all. And what Siobhan said, I think, is spot on with the merging of Klopp's high energy, high intensity football and then the tactics of Arne Slot. I think it's going to be beautiful to watch. I'm super, super scared because the last thing I need is for Liverpool to one up us with 21 league titles. But look,
It's gonna happen.
yeah, I really think it is. I really think it is, and it pains me to say. And it's not the way I wanted this podcast to start, but we keep it moving. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be an easy win for Liverpool. I really do, and just super, super excited. And bring it on, and then bring on the following week as well. Super keen.
Awesome, thank you, Sal. Before we jump on to Ballon d'Or, does anyone want to jump in with any thoughts on Hugo Ekitike? I know listeners will be, they heard Siobhan mention Hugo, and I'm sure they're thinking probably the same as I, which is I haven't seen an awful lot of this player, to be honest with you. And I think coming in to be with Isak, you kind of started thinking, well, what was the Ekitike transfer really about? Because the guy's coming for big money and probably not going to start. But now the Isak transfer doesn't look like it's going to happen in all likelihood. And Ekitike's probably got a larger role in the team than we were expecting, with this sort of Flo Wirtz playing false nine as well. How does anyone want to jump in on Ekitike if you know anything about him? Maybe Siobhan, you can lead this one from pre-season and what you've seen of him. I must confess, I don't know a lot about him.
To be honest, I didn't know a lot about him either. From what I heard before we signed him was he's a really young version of Isak, Alexander Isak. And so he's much younger, but plays very similar to him. Unpopular opinion, please don't hate me, Liverpool fans, but I actually want to sign Alexander Isak. I think he should stay at Newcastle. I don't think we need him, but that's just my opinion.
That's a hot take.
It is, and I would actually have preferred to have kept Darwin Nunez in the squad over Alexander Isak, but I rather have players that play for my badge than cause uprisings in your own club. That aside, Hugo, so like I said, didn't really know much about him, just heard rumors that he has a very similar style to Isak, and that's why Newcastle were actually going for him to be able to start playing with Isak and then eventually replace him when Isak moves on. But I've watched him play a game and a half, I think it is. I watched him in preseason and in some training clips. One, he is ridiculously tall. I think he's the same height as Virgil for a French player as well. So very tall. Gives off crouchy vibes as well with his little long legs running. Super fast, super hungry for the ball, and seems to be fitting in like a glove. I don't know if it's just because Liverpool have really, really bought well and they went after their targets so early in the transfer window that when they started preseason, everyone was already starting to integrate into the club. And when Hugo signed, as soon as he was done with his medical, signed his contract, got onto a plane and flew to Asia to join the team in preseason. It was almost immediate. Like he signed and then the next morning he was there at preseason. So it was very clever from the club to do that so that he can get involved in it. And I don't know if it's a weird time for the club because of Diogo passing away that we've had to come together so much as a family and as a fan base and a club together to sort of mourn one of our own, that it's helped the new boys feel the love a lot quicker than the first game at Anfield and hearing You Never Walk Alone. So maybe that helps as well, just to break the ice a little bit. But from what I've seen in preseason, super talented, super energetic, and definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I'm always, what would I say? I'm not going to say skeptical, but I'm always cognizant. I'm aware of strikers coming from the Bundesliga, and I think there's a bit of a hit and miss factor for the Bundesliga when it comes to forwards. We get a Haaland, we sometimes get a Lewandowski,
Or Timo Werner.
or we get a. Thank you for volunteering that, Jude. Yeah. Or you get a Timo Werner. Or you get a... And look, I mean, Kai Havertz has gone up and down, right? And his clips when he was at Bayer Leverkusen was definitely the next big thing. And while I definitely think Kai has been definitely disrespected, to be honest, is the right word, while he was at Chelsea and while he was at Arsenal. He's a good example of people who blow up in Germany and then do struggle when they come abroad. Sal, want to give you a chance here just on Ekitike. What do you think of the signing there?
So honestly, as you and I have discussed off screen, I also didn't know much about him. So I've done a little bit of homework, and I am a little bit impressed. I think I share the same sentiment when it comes to Bundesliga forwards, right? When it comes to Bundesliga players, attackers in general, like you said, you either get a Haaland or, it goes down south. So I sort of want to save my opinion for when I see a little bit more in the competitive front, more in the Premier League. I think even Sunday will be a good place to start with some, judging of his abilities and so on. It's again, I try to avoid looking at price tags nowadays because the market is a mess, right? So I don't really judge when it comes to that. So I'm keen to see. I was surprised with it because I thought that Isak was going to be, I'm still not sure. Was he the number one target? Because it seemed like they were more in for Ekitike. I don't know. It was a whole fiasco that I was very, very confused by. But I think what Siobhan said, from what I have seen so far in preseason, the just as I mentioned earlier, the gelling of these Liverpool players at the moment. It's like they're just working so well together, and you get that feel of like chemistry right off the back, and it's scary, man. It's I'm shaking thinking about it really. So as a unit, I think they're gonna gel so well together, and it just seems like he fits that mold as well. So I'm really excited to see how he adds to that team with his ability, with his size and everything. I'm super, super keen. And they really miss Liverpool when it comes to their signings. They're not like a Man United or other clubs that just sign big and it's hit or miss. Liverpool usually get it right. So yeah, I'm keen to see.
Unfortunately true.
Yeah.
All right.
Forgetting we signed Andy Carroll and Benteke and Mario.
Look, we definitely ignoring those times when it comes to your team. I think while you have this current circumstances that you're under, I think use it while you can, because I have forgotten about those days and I'm only seeing what's right in front of me. Like everything from signing Mo Salah, Sadio Mane to even Luis Diaz and all the players that have come in recent years. It's been, look, as a neutral watching it as a pure football fan, it's been wonderful to watch, right? It really has. And records aside, rivalries aside, 21 titles aside, all of that aside, it really is wonderful to watch, and it's night and day compared to the Andy Carroll days and the Benteke days. And there really hasn't been a miss recently. And last season, like you said, Liverpool spent what, £10 million in the window. There wasn't much improvement to the team. Yeah, and I remember one of these influencers, quote unquote, that I follow, speaking about Liverpool and how they're not an attractive destination for a lot of superstars. And I thought about it and I was like, wait, that's actually true. Liverpool don't make blockbuster signings. They'll sign a Mo Salah or they'll sign a Sadio Mane and they will grow into being a super, super talented player. Barring aside Virgil van Dijk. And I shared that sentiment and then they just completely proved me wrong. So like Frimpong is a massive signing. Kirk is First, I mean, Slow is that's such a superstar. You know, you speak about what Kai Havertz was when he was at Bayer Leverkusen with Wirtz. It's like that, even more escalated. And he's got the credentials to prove it, right? He's won the league title in Germany, going undefeated as well, part of the super team. So I think, yeah, Liverpool just don't miss at the moment, and I'm not happy about it, but it's good to see as a neutral, definitely.
I agree. Let's jump to Ballon d'Or then. So we got the nominees list. It's an interesting list. I think, unlike Ballon d'Or, I mean, to be honest with you, Ballon d'Or became a bit of an individual competition I lost complete interest in. It was a competition which it was Ronaldo or Messi. You could pretty much do a toss a coin every year, and whatever side it lands, it's probably going to be Messi. But if it's not, then it's going to be Ronaldo. And we're finally at a point in football history where that is no longer the foregone conclusion. And I'm going to read out a list of players here, and I'm sure the listeners are going to feel the exact same way when you're hearing this list of names. But quite a few of these people have a very, very good shout for being either in the conversation or at least in the top 3 this year. So let me roll off this list of names for you. It's in alphabetical order, not in any sort of suggestions of talent. So let's go with ABC. Bellingham, Dembele, Donnarumma, Desiree Doué, Dumfries, Guirassy, Gyökeres, Haaland, Hakimi, Kane, Kvaradona, Lewandowski, McAllister, Lautaro Martinez, Mbappe, McTominay, Nuno Mendes, Neves, Olise, Palmer, Pedri, Rafinha, Rice, Fabian Ruiz, Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Vinny Jr., Vitinha, and yes, there are more below 2 Vs there. We've got Flo, Wirtz, and Lamine Yamal. Wow. What a list of footballers that is.
To be a football fan.
And it's nice to also see, there were a couple of years where you had such a dominance in places like, Spain / Barca that you would read out basically the first 11 of the Barca team or the first 11 of the Real Madrid team or whatever. This is talent across the board at different clubs and different leagues. I'm really impressed. Before I jump in and go around the houses here on who we feel is coming second to Gyökeres. What okay, all right, I'll be serious. I'm going to offer my thoughts. I actually think for me the winner should be Ousmane Dembele. I think when you look at Ligue 1 is not a league I pay very much attention to for quite a few different reasons. It's not a massively competitive league in terms of outside of France. Visibility wise, it's not on a lot of channels. It's not a competition that is easily watched outside of the big games at the Parc des Princes, PSG versus Marseille, or that type of fixture. But when you look at his numbers in Liga, and then you look at what he did on the world stage in the Champions League, it is phenomenal. Now I know the Club World Cup had a slightly different outcome, so Chelsea winning that definitely put a bit of a dour, a bit of a shame really for Dembele. I think if he would have wanted personally to get the Club World Cup, I think as a bit of a crowning achievement for the year, and he didn't get it. But for me, I think it's a Dembele year, and I have to shout out the manager. What Luis Enrique has done there to sort of turn what I would consider a classic winger, like, chalk on his boots, cut inside on the right foot, into a really, really effective false nine. And I got to admit, I was in the Emirates Stadium watching in person when Dembele scored against Arsenal in the semi-final. And the way he scored and the way he nonchalantly just swept that into the bottom corner. Arsenal hadn't basically had a touch. The stadium was quiet and he kept it quiet. And so for me, it's got to be Dembele. But Jude, I want to let you have a first bite at this bit of bait. Ballon d'Or, where do you sit on this one?
Of course, what a list. First of all, you're reading out those names, and I think everyone that is on that list kind of deserves to be there. There's like a few where I'd say like, why is he there? But majority, I think 90% of the players who are on there deserve to be there. I'm struggling to say who I think should win outright because I don't think I have an outright answer. I do have a top three, so I'm going to mention them. Dembele is part of that top three. I think the season that he had, and you mentioned the league kind of being not the best league, but he did win it. But to perform on a stage in the Champions League throughout the season, and I think he's the way he's playing in terms of being a winger, but also he can play number 9, a false 9. His versatility showed this season, and I think that he does have a huge shot. I think he'll end up winning it, but I'd also like to see my other two options in my top three win it because they are also very well deserving, I think. My other player in my top three is Lamine Yamal. And a lot of people will argue that his numbers weren't that great in La Liga. But every time that I watched him last season, it was I was wowed, if that makes sense. The things that he can do at his age is just incredible. I enjoy watching him, even if he doesn't really contribute with goals or assists. He's keeping the Barcelona team ticking. And my third option, I think Mo Salah has a shout. He had an incredible season last season. And I know the arguments I just made for Yamal not having many contributions, I think is very opposite when it comes to Salah because he had an amazing season in terms of goal contributions. Everything he touched really turned to gold or an assist, a goal. Mo Salah, one of the main reasons that Liverpool won the league last season. And I think those are my top three. I can't decide who it should be. I'll leave the journalists and whoever votes for Ballon d'Or to decide that.
Leaving it in their capable hands, no doubt.
Yes.
No controversy whatsoever. Yeah. All right. Next up, Siobhan, what are you thinking about Ballon d'Or?
I agree with both of you 100%. My only argument is I love Yamal. I really, really do. I think he is very, very young Messi. I love watching him play. He is, again, raw talent. And I love watching footballers who have raw talent. That was always the biggest discussion with me when it came to Cristiano Ronaldo versus Messi. And for me, Messi had the raw talent. Cristiano Ronaldo worked really hard at it. And that was always the discussion of why I always leaned more towards the Messi side. But I think Yamal, he is, if I stand to be corrected, he is up for young player, the Ballon d'Or for the young player. So I think he should take that and let the rest of them who've been in football for a little bit longer stand tall. As much as I want to say with all my heart and everything that no one else deserves besides Mo Salah, I think he's earned it. I do. I genuinely do. I think we've got 4 players that are nominated if you include Wirtz. But you cannot argue against Dembele and what he's done. I think if they had won the FIFA Club World Cup, PSG would have won 5 trophies, which I think is unheard of completely. So, I mean, winning 4 trophies is massive enough, but 5 trophies, and he was an integral part of that team. He destroyed majority of the teams, including my own. And I think no one else deserves it as much as he does, other than maybe Salah, but maybe I'm being a little bit biased because I think Salah should have won it when there was the debates of the Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, that sort of thing. Salah does deserve it, but I think this season or last season, Dembele just spiked into it.
Fair enough. If we're allowed to be biased, by the way, I'm changing my vote. It's got to be Declan Rice.
Then Cole Palmer definitely deserves it.
Right, we're gonna have to change all of our answers here before something.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
So Scott McTominay for the heritage.
There we go. 100%. Now look, on my side, I definitely I think Ousmane Dembele, definitely. I also I share the same top 3 as Jude, and I love Lamine Yamal as well. I think Lamine Yamal getting nominated for the Ballon d'Or and being one of the quote-unquote favorites, right? A lot of people said he should win it, and despite the numbers, as Jude said, I think is a testament to the fact that football is sort of going back toward, you know, how it was in the past, where it was more about the arts of football as opposed to the numbers. And I really appreciate that, because I really thought the game was gone. I thought now it's becoming a sport purely based on numbers, and we're going to ignore natural talent and raw ability, as Siobhan said. So him being mentioned in this conversation, despite the lack of numbers, it's a really reassuring thing for me. It makes me feel so good and so happy that it still appreciates the raw talents of a football player. However, I definitely think Ousmane Dembele is the favorite, and I think he deserves it. And for me, there's a little bit of, I don't know if I can say bias, but I want him to win it because he was one of those kids, you know, like the Mbappes of the world, Alls of the world, where coming up when he was still at Dortmund, everybody, or actually he was at Lille before Dortmund, I think, and already then people were saying like he's a superstar, he's one to watch. And then he sort of phased out, right? When he went to Barcelona and he got the injuries and, you know, it didn't really work out. And now for him to find himself back in that conversation now for Ballon d'Or, front runner for Ballon d'Or, I think it's an amazing story. And not a lot is actually being said about that, about the fact that he was a future Ballon d'Or winner that sort of phased out and now he's back in the conversation. So I just think it will be a magnificent story. He definitely deserves it based off of his team achievements and being such a crucial part of that team as well. So he's my pick for sure.
I love it. And I got to say, it is a remarkable season in the sense that we have all picked essentially, and okay, I didn't do a top 3, but we're all pretty much in consensus that Mbappe, Haaland, and Vinny Jr. probably don't make our top 3s. And I think that in of itself is kind of incredible, because we were all told that there is a natural successor to the thrones, and one of them was going to be Haaland, Vinny Jr. or Mbappe. And I think probably all 3 of them can be probably quite disappointed with their seasons. Let's see if Real Madrid boycott the ceremony again. But anyway, moving on. We are running out of time, but we've still got a few things we want to cover. So we've got a few weeks before the deadline, or a week and a half, I think, before the deadline. Let's have a quick run through of fantasy football just before we jump into the round the houses. If you haven't signed up for the Pattern Play podcast for Fantasy Football League, my goodness, that is a bit of a mouthful. Please do so. We will make sure to post again on our socials. So if you're not following us on Instagram, TikTok, or X, please do so. Can't believe I'm saying X instead of Twitter. But we'll also make sure to put the code in the description of this podcast and the channel itself. Do sign up. There's a $3,000 prize, 3,000 Rand prize for first place, 2,000 Rand for second place, and 1,000 Rand for third place, and 1,000 Rand if you win the cup. So if you win first place and the cup, which is probably going to be one of the Henderson brothers, knowing how we always play FPL, and they win everything. I'm looking forward to a pay packet in 8 months. So please join up with the league so that we can make sure one of the Henderson boys does not win this year. Awesome. Right. So let's kick off with Siobhan. Do you want to explain to the audience your lack of a draft?
Okay. So once upon a time, I I had a fantasy football team. And I was really, really good at it. We had this little group, and I was actually winning the group at one stage. And there was this one moment when Casemiro scored, and I celebrated a Man United goal. And I immediately deleted my team after that because, one, I felt like I was cheating on Liverpool. But two, how dare I celebrate someone else's goal because of a fake football team? It made no sense. And then since then, I have sworn off fantasy football. So I will not be entering the competition this season. I will not be creating a team because for my own health and my own well-being, I have decided to support one team and one team only. And that's the team that Arne Slot plays on the pitch.
Very healthy approach, right? I think you might be the happiest of the co-hosts on this podcast.
I'm all for you guys celebrating my team scoring goals. So put them all in your team.
Look,
You have no idea how many Liverpool goals I celebrate. It's unbelievable. With Mo Salah, I celebrate way too many Liverpool goals. But it's a lot easier to do when your team doesn't contend for the title. So, I mean, it makes it a lot easier.
That is 100% true. And I must say, I am going to go for a brave approach this season. I'm not going to go with either Haaland or Salah and see if it's even feasible. Yeah, nobody who's listening should copy this. This is not FPL advice in any way.
You're experimenting.
I am experimenting. And after having basically mapped Arteta's Arsenal journey, where I peaked in 2022, 2023 with a top 100,000th finish, I think is the best I've ever come. The last few years, I've been steadily declining despite spending more money on the game, just like Arsenal. So I have to be a little bit careful that it doesn't continue that trajectory and I end up having a terrible season. But I'm trying this, and we're going to see where it goes. Jude, how is your draft looking ahead of the FPL season?
It's looking quite interesting. I've decided to go with Mo Salah in terms of the premium player. I mean, it's either him or Haaland. I've fit in Cole Palmer. I think Chelsea are going to do bits this season. I'm enjoying. I haven't finalized my team yet, but I'm enjoying looking at defenders because of that new defensive contribution rule, where centre backs now can earn you some points with tackles and interceptions and blocks and stuff like that. So I'm not going to have a defense full of wing backs for the first time in a long time. I was always the person not to choose any centre backs, despite them having the ability to score from corners and stuff. Van Dijk is a popular pick in terms of that before this rule change. But I haven't finalized my team yet. I just know that Mo Salah and Cole Palmer are in my team. And that's all I am sure about for now.
Solid start, to be fair.
Yeah.
Two pretty good cornerstones of a team.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, Jude, we're going to have to check back in with you as you piece together your squad position by position. So by October, you finally are ready for the season. Sal, how about you round off our FPL? How are you looking ahead of the new season? Have you got a draft, or are you late?
So I haven't finalized my team either. And initially, that's why I actually raised an eyebrow when you said what you said, because initially I knew, just like Jude, that there was going to be a Cole Palmer and a Mo Salah situation there. However, I am considering taking Mo Salah out. I am. And I've got somebody who I don't want to mention that I want to put there, who I believe is going to contribute to a lot of my points.
That's
So
Who?
let's see how it goes. I don't really want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, and I have a feeling that Tim has the same thoughts as me. So let's wait and see. It's not confirmed yet. Let's wait and see.
According
you
to
just gave it
Fabrizio,
away.
it is confirmed. It is agreed.
Wow. All I'm going to say is I have no thoughts. So if you think I'm thinking something strategic for why I'm leaving out Salah, it can't be what you're thinking.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's good. But okay, fine. I believe that Victor Gyökeres is going to be my number 1 point scorer for this season. I really do. I firmly believe that. Despite not coming from a top 5 league, the amount of goals that he contributed last season was absolutely insane. And obviously, they don't share the same position, but I kind of want to take Salah out, make room for a lot of other players, and save some money in that regard. And I believe that my point contribution will come from Victor. So let's see how it goes.
So a Gyökeres, Sesko, and Isak front line for you potentially, Sal. Interesting.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Well, without Haaland and without Salah, you do have what, 28 million, 29 million off the.
Here we go.
Half.
Yeah,
Here we go.
that's a lot of money, isn't it? Wow. Yeah. Okay. I can understand the strategy there. Right. Well, that takes us to the end of FPL. I think we're going to have a lot more discussion on FPL as we get closer to the deadline. And a reminder: sign up, sign up, sign up. We will close entry to the FPL League after game week 1. So we will allow one late arrival week, but then we will be locking it down, especially for the prize winning team anyway. So we get no last minute joiners to the league to steal all the prizes. No comments on who would do that. Let's move on to the game then. So we got a game of the week, which is going to be a classic game of Who Am I? I'm going to read out hints as to who the footballer I'm referencing is. And
Shout out.
Exactly. One of the co-hosts,
Okay.
when you're ready.
I'll do those. She's going to win it. I know it.
However, if you get your guess wrong, you have to wait for another co-host to get it wrong before you're allowed to jump in with another suggestion to avoid one of you brute forcing this. Right. The first hint. They played in the Premier League, Ligue 1, and in Turkey. Now, none of you are going to get the player based on that information. So I'm going to move on to the second hint, which is a good one. This player played with Ronaldinho. No guesses yet. The third hint, and this is where I think the floodgates will start to open in those brains of yours. This is a 2-time African Player of the Year winner.
JJ Okocha.
Boom! Well done, Jude. That is an outstanding turnaround. I had a few more. The next hint was going to be there's a stadium named after him in the Delta state of Nigeria. That was going to be a pretty clear hint. And then if you didn't get it after that, I was going to go with Bald So Nice. They named him twice. No need to get there in the end. Wonderful. All right.
Let's keep a scoreboard, please.
I think I might need to do that. Yeah, Jude, now that you're winning, that's definitely a suggestion I might take on board. If I see you constantly winning, we might just shove the leaderboard and shelve that one. Now, usually the game of the week would take a little longer, but Jude is very good at these, so we're going to have to find something slightly more difficult for the team. Maybe on the next episode, we'll have a little bit of football darts and see whether we can get a 180. Moving on then. The last segment of the week that we will do regularly will be a chant of the week or a song of the week. And typically one of the co-hosts will nominate a new chant that they've heard or a song that represents one of the headlines or hot takes for the week. Now, given this is our first episode of the Pattern Play podcast, we're going to be nominating as a group one individual for our chant of the week this week. And of course, that is Diogo Jota. Siobhan, before we end off this podcast and say goodbye to the listeners, do you want to just offer a couple of thoughts on Diogo Jota, given the news, of course, that happened over the summer and the tragedy that happened there?
I think I can only speak to his football because that's what I watched and that's what I knew of him. But since his death, which tragically happened 10 days after he got married, he leaves behind 3 kids under the age of 4. I think it's important to remember a wife has lost a husband, children have lost a father, parents have lost both their children, both their sons. It is one of the most tragic ways to go, in a car accident and burned to death. And knowing that the only thing that gives me peace in the moment is, one, he was driving back to preseason. That's where he was heading to catch a ferry because he couldn't fly. So he was driving to catch the ferry to drive back to Anfield for preseason. But more than anything is, when he was so tragically taken away from us, he was at his happiest moment in his life. He had just won the Premier League. He had just won the Nations Cup with Portugal. He had just gotten married. And I think he felt like the king of the world, and he was full of joy. And that's how I'd like to remember him. So he took us to victory, forever our number 20. He gave us our number 20. When he signed in 2020, he wore the number 20. And I will be wearing his jersey with pride this season. So, Diogo Jota and your brother, Andre, may you rest in peace.
He's a lad from Portugal. Figo, don't you know?
Oh, his name is Diogo. Oh, he wears the number 20. He will take us to victory.
I think we're gonna call it there. All I want to say is thanks again for joining and listening to our first episode of the Pattern Play podcast. There will be many of these to come. Some with Jude, some with Sal, some with Siobhan, and some with our many other contributors and co-hosts that we have lined up to give you insight, some laughs, some chats, some reminiscing over some terrible FPL weeks, because I know that after 3 or 4 game week, we're all going to be heartbroken and considering giving up. And that's probably going to be the same for some of us in the league as well, given that Man United and Arsenal kick off the Premier League in game week 1. That will be a very, very spicy Super Sunday to look forward to. That's all we have time for in this episode, but no stress. We will be back on Tuesday to discuss Palace's shock W over Liverpool, no doubt, and look ahead toward our first Premier League game week, of which we are super excited. I'm really excited. I've had an awesome time with these folks today. I know you're excited. Thank you for being here as always, and goodbye for now.